Meghan Markle has opened up about a devastating loss. The Duchess of Sussex revealing she experienced a miscarriage earlier this year in a very powerful personal essay written for the New York Times. The piece is called The Losses We Share, and she details the heartbreaking moment she realised something was wrong. She writes, "I knew as I clutched my firstborn child that I was losing my second."
Oh, it's such a powerful story too. We are joined by CNN royal commentator Victoria Arbiter from New York City. Vic, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This article is so powerful and so moving, as Sylvia said. Why do you think Meghan decided to share this experience?
Well, good morning to you. And yes, I think powerful is absolutely the right word. Just as you were reading that one quote, I had goosebumps. And I think this story is resonating with people all over the world. Meghan has shown her commitment to really to gender equality, to issues relating to women, to women's education. And I think she's really committed to their welfare. And so in sharing this story, she's showing people, she's showing women, it's okay. She's normalizing miscarriage, which is something that unfortunately has always been treated with a bit of a stigma, as Meghan refers to in her article. She says there's unwarranted shame related to it as well. So when people like Meghan speak out, it gives everyone hope that they are not alone.
Well, as she said, pregnancy loss is something that is experienced by so many, but spoken about by so few. I couldn't help but think, Victoria, when I was reading this, about what was going on in her life at the time and the amount of scrutiny she had been under, the attacks that she had experienced for so many different reasons, the vast majority completely petty. There was a big move in their life, and I think, you know, what she wants us to start asking people is, are you okay? And she must have been under an extraordinary amount of pressure at that time in her life, and then experiencing this on top of that as well.
There has been so much pressure. I think, you know, everyone has been talking today, oh, well, Harry and Meghan asked for privacy. Why are they talking about this now? Well, there's different levels of privacy. They never asked for flat out privacy. They're public figures and they're interested in having a public role that helps people, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have an element of privacy in their lives as well, particularly when it comes to personal issues. So you're absolutely right, highlighting all of those issues that came up. But I think asking, are you okay? It is such a simple question, but it is so loaded. And the point is, when you ask that question, to really mean it, listen to the person's response, take on board how they're feeling, see how it is that you can help. And often the people that you think don't need to be asked that question, Meghan perhaps living in a mansion, seemingly living this wonderful life, well, sometimes those are the people you really do need to check in with and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
We all suffer from the same things.
And privacy and transparency are two very different things.
Exactly
Vic,
right.
I think also something she highlighted in the article, which I think all couples can relate to, is how Harry reacted to this. And I think humanising his reaction and letting us into that world a little bit was something that we rarely see from the royal family at all. We only hear about it much, much later on down the line. That's an important step too, in your experience, isn't it?
It's really important. And yes, mums have to go through the trauma of their body, perhaps delivering a baby, or going through the trauma of the miscarriage. But dads are left feeling so helpless, and they're grieving and mourning as well. And it's interesting, actually, you mentioned the rest of the royal family. Zara Tindall, Princess Anne's daughter, actually spoke in 2018 about having experienced 2 miscarriages. And she made a point of mentioning her husband, Mike Tindall, and how helpless he felt while also grieving. So yes, I think it's very important and really impressive that Meghan mentioned Harry's experience in this as well.
How do you think the royal family would have responded to this?
I think they would have just been incredibly sad for Harry and Meghan, you know, in letting them go off and carve out this new existence for themselves. They want them to be able to have in their life whatever it is that's going to make them happy. Sophie Wessex experienced a very traumatic miscarriage in 2001. Of course, I mentioned Zara Tindall having experienced 2 miscarriages. So there are family members that can relate as well. Of course, Princess Eugenie is pregnant herself at the moment. She's expecting a baby next year. She and Harry are very close. Harry and Meghan have allowed Eugenie and Jack to move into Frogmore Cottage, their home in Windsor. So I think there will have been a lot of sensitivity and a lot of sympathy, but at the same time, they'll want to respect Harry and Meghan's privacy.
Vic, Sylvia touched on it before, but the insane amount of attacks on this couple, particularly Meghan, have verged on from being outrageous to just being flat out properly racist at times. That's a lot of pressure for them to go on. Since this article come out, there's also been backlash towards her again, which I find just inhumane, considering what she's gone through and what she's put herself out there with. There is no bottom to these people, but what has the reaction generally been on this?
I think overall, yes, of course, there has been the hate and the vitriol. There's always going to be that, unfortunately, on social media where people are hiding behind anonymous pseudonyms. But I will say it's been incredibly encouraging to see the amount of gratitude that has been expressed to Meghan, how many people have reached out and said, thank you, I've been through this. I was scared to talk about it. I had no one to turn to. I didn't know the resources. The knock-on effect has been these charities and organisations that put a lot of money into miscarriage research, that also help people that have been through miscarriage deal with their trauma. So it's highlighted them as well, which gives access, gives people access to help.
Victoria, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on this subject.
Thank you.
Of course, we say it's brave of her to share this news. That doesn't mean that it's not brave of others to not share their experience.
Correct.
It is up to everyone to, I suppose, deal with something so difficult in their own personal way.
I think she feels a sense of duty to highlight this, but that's not for everybody.
No,
It's
and I guess it's her hope that this will bring some comfort to other people who have that shared experience as well.
Absolutely.